welcome to Debunked, where we're going to be putting out a series of videos for you guys based on theories or myths in the world of strength and conditioning or sport and exercise science. We will take a look at where these myths or theories have come from and then take a further look into why they're actually wrong based off of what the scientific literature actually states. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the theory of weight training is bad for children and adolescents.
So this theory or myth started around the 1970s and 1980s and comes from the concern that kids will be causing damage to their growth plates if they participate in a strength training program, leading to the premature closure of growth plates and overall stunted height.
Although this damage is only related in a situation where the bones have been fractured, which is more likely to occur in contact sports like rugby league or soccer, which most likely your child already plays or has done for some time now.
A 1996 paper published by the NSCA or National Strength and Conditioning Association, which is the most recognisable regulatory body in the USA in regard to strength and conditioning, states that despite the old beliefs about youth resistance training being ineffective and unsafe, resistance training is now recognised as an important component of youth fitness programs, health promotion objectives, and injury prevention strategies. This paper also states that most of the reported resistance training related injuries in the 1970s and 80s were mainly due to poor training, excessive loading, poorly designed equipment, and lack of qualified adult supervision in the gym. Obviously, resistance training does carry some risk of musculoskeletal injury, although this risk is no greater than that of participation in other recreation activities or sports in which children regularly participate in. A prospective study by the NSCA that evaluated the incidence of sports-related injury in school children over a 1-year period found that resistance training resulted in 0.7 of the 1,576 injuries, whereas football, basketball and soccer resulted in 19, 15 and 2% of all respected reported injuries. High Performance Training for Sports, the authoritative guide for ultimate athletic conditioning, a book that is written by some of the most highly qualified strength and conditioning coaches, sport and exercise scientists, exercise physiologists and physiotherapists in the world, states that despite earlier misconceptions, there is now a wealth of evidence supporting the use of resistance training by both children and adolescents. Conceivably, if a child is ready to engage in sport activities, then he or she is ready to participate in resistance training. Although there is no minimum age requirement for a child to start resistance training, the child must be sufficiently mature enough to understand instructions and be able to choose to participate.
So far, it looks to me like these theories surrounding the use of resistance training in children and adolescents has been misconstrued in a major way, based off of seemingly outdated studies. I'd like to dive a little deeper now and take a look at the potential benefits in resistance training or weight training in regard to children and adolescents.
A peer-reviewed article on resistance training for children and adolescents touches on how in the past resistance training was seen to be detrimental to youth athletes and was specifically avoided out of concern for damage to the adolescent skeleton. It then proceeds to state that multiple studies have since discredited these theories, even stating that when designed properly, resistance sessions are often completed injury-free. Athletes who incorporate resistance sessions into their training regime have demonstrated decreased rates of fracture, musculotendinous and muscle injuries associated with sport-specific practice and competition.
This goes hand in hand with the 2012 study by the Journal of Sports Medicine that states
high strain eliciting sports like gymnastics or weight-bearing physical activities are strongly recommended to increase the peak bone mass. Which makes perfect sense, as we already know that resistance exercise can increase bone density through ossification or bone generation. The textbook High Performance Training for Sports also states, given the strong evidence supporting the use of resistance training throughout all stages of maturation in terms of performance enhancement and injury prevention, resistance training is one of the cornerstones of long-term youth physical development strategies. Also stating that early exposure to resistance training will increase the likelihood of the young player making a successful transition from junior ranks to elite level sport. This also depicts that Measures of muscular strength and power can also be significantly enhanced when children are exposed to a variety of forms of resistance training and not just weights. These may include manual resistance, machine weights, plyometric training, resistance band, medicine balls, and free weight exercises.
So based off of the evidence out there, not only will resistance training or weight training cause no damage at all to the growth plates of young athletes, but it also may provide them with a better overall athletic ability. This provided that they're training in a safe environment with the use of proper equipment, an appropriately prescribed program, lifting with good technique, under the supervision of a qualified adult. Resistance training has also shown to improve bone health, increase muscle mass and general strength, improve overall sports performance and prevent injuries. I'd also like to point out that participating in resistance training or weight training as a child may help to form good habits or virtues in that child that they can then utilise as an adult further down the line in life. Not only in terms of their health and fitness, but also in terms of fitting into general society. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll definitely try and put more of this content out there for you guys. That was Debunked.